Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. It opens with a trailer for a corny old horror flick where young counselors at Camp Blue Finch are all slain by the masked antagonist Billy. Considered the granddaddy of all slasher films for its over-the-top acting, Camp Bloodbath's gained a large following of fans, but the struggling actress Amanda regrets ever playing the shy girl Nancy as she's been typecasted ever since. Her only daughter Max goes over the bills, but Amanda tosses them out of the window and lightens the mood with her favorite song Betty Davis Eyes. When Max accidentally spills her drink, a distracted Amanda veers into the oncoming lane, causing the two to have a violent crash. 3 years later, Max is now living with her aunt after her mother died and gets a lift from her best friend Gertie to go study. They go to a diner where Max's romantic interest Chris is waiting to learn with them about ancient Greek philosophy. The manager from the local cinema enters, begging Max to attend their double feature for her mother's film as a special guest. Gertie's dorky stepbrother Duncan's the movie's biggest fan, but as the event falls on the anniversary of her mother's death, Max refuses to go. Since she's struggling to graduate, Max is convinced to attend when Duncan counters by offering to do all of her assignments for the year. She's met there by Gertie as part of their plan, and also Chris, who just showed up unannounced to show his support. They run into Max's ex-friend and Chris's ex-girlfriend Vicki, who stalked his Twitter to find their location and brought along some dude to make him jealous. She marks her territory with Chris while the night's host Duncan is overly obsessive about Nancy's daughter attending but needs to get back to work. The first film plays to a huge crowd and Max begins to feel emotional watching her mom on screen with the douchebag Kurt. He convinces the shy virgin girl Nancy to sleep with him in Camp Bloodbath, dooming them both to be targeted by Billy next, as that's how these killers hunt. Not wanting to watch the scene, Max gets up to leave, but the fatal combination of dropped booze and a cigarette ignites the curtains, trapping everybody inside. It spreads through the entire theater, so Max picks up a machete brought by one of the fans and leads her friends along with Duncan and Vicki toward the screen. Just before Nancy's killed, Max cuts it open and the five enter through a blindingly bright light. They wake up to find themselves suddenly in the middle of the woods when the characters from Camp Bloodbath arrive in their van. Kurt's passenger Tina asks for directions, but the group just stand there staring at them stunned, so the confused counselors leave. The film's run time of 92 minutes passes when the counselors round the corner again, as if they didn't just have the same conversation. This time Duncan tells them that they're also new counselors and would like a ride to the camp since they've no other options. They jump in the van where Duncan reveals little things that happen in the future, but they never pick up on it as they're all written to be morons. The Nancy character wakes up having been asleep in the back of the van, but her daughter looks at her like she's still her mother Amanda. As they depart at Camp Bluefinch, they meet another counselor, Blake, and the first victim of the movie, Mimi, who they knowingly let wander off to her demise. Vicki tries to convince Kurt for the keys to the van so they can find a way out of the movie, but she uses Duncan as the threatening party. Kurt, who calls Vicki funbags, flexes what he calls a karate move with his bicep before tossing the key into the woods for them to fetch. Max sees an opportunity to try to save the character Nancy's life by telling her not to go sleep with Kurt. But she says that there isn't anything to worry about, as Tina does it all the time and she's perfectly fine. Needing to get back to the real world, Max and Chris begin helping the others in searching the woods for the keys. They begin to hear someone approaching and realize that they're about to witness the first kills of the film, which Duncan couldn't be more excited for. As Mimi hooks up with a hunky hiker, that's Billy's cue to show up and break his neck before strangling Mimi to death and lobbing her body in front of the group. He notices them watching, but before everyone runs, Duncan points out that they're not part of the movie, so Billy doesn't know what to do with them. He also assumes that their blood's going to taste like corn syrup though, and he's wrong on that one. As Billy just stands there staring, Duncan takes a photo with the monster of a man, but Billy walks right up to him, probably confused by the futuristic phone. He turns to leave, so Duncan thinks that he's invincible until a machete's hurled into his side, as the others learn that they're just part of the body count. They try to forego the van and just run home, but the movie won't let them leave the camp as they get caught in a time loop. As the friends are sitting around debating to themselves whether to tell the counselors about the slasher, Paula gets a grand entrance since she's the final girl that kills Billy, and the group decide to shadow her for the duration of the movie. They first gather their counterparts from the group of counselors to prevent anyone from fooling around so that Billy doesn't get summoned. Chris attempts to downplay the attractiveness of the girls to quell Kurt's libido, but he's already got his sights set on sleeping with all of them and can't be convinced otherwise. When he mentions Max among them, Chris threatens breaking his arm, and Kurt realizes that his karate moves won't help. Inside, Max convinces her mother's character from going through with her fatal first time, but Kurt doesn't listen and enters ready to get them all killed. Billy shows up and the group begins to hear the theme music associated with the killer coming out of thin air. Gertie lets out a scream when she sees him, so the group gathers together and she thinks they should tell everybody the whole truth about the movie. They overhear Billy's name get said, which triggers the characters to all sit down, and just like the movie, they listen to Nancy tell his urban legend. The world melts away and takes the group to a black and white flashback of 1957 when Billy was just a child. Made fun of for being different, Billy hid in an outhouse to escape, but the bullies threw firecrackers and causing third-degree burns to his face. 8 months in recovery later, and now wearing his mask, he went back to the camp to exact his revenge and slaughtered all of the neglecting counselors. Some blood sprays on Gertie's face from the last murder, and when they return from the flashback she expects it to be gone, but it isn't. The terrified counselors flee from the cabin, but the group catches Nancy, Blake and Tina with the explanation that the movie isn't going to let them leave. Kurt and Paula make it into her car and speed away, but Duncan emerges from the bushes still alive until he gets run over. It causes them to crash, throwing Kurt through the window into a fatal scorpion, while Paula dies right after when her car suddenly explodes. With the movie's final girl dead, the group decide to reveal to the surviving counselors that they're all screwed unless they find a new one. Vicki volunteers to be the one to kill Bill, but since a final girl needs to be a virgin, the only choice in the room is Max. Nancy's able to do it since she didn't sleep with Kurt, but Vicki comments that she can't because she already has a role as the shy victim. It sends her away in tears, so Max goes after her to hear that Nancy only wants to survive so that she can start a family and have children. Max consoles her and they decide to make it out of the movie together so that Nancy can make a new life in the real world. They come up with a plan to booby-trap the cabin while using Tina as the bait, since her striptease is also something that attracted Billy in the movie. She's made to wear a flotation device with mittens as protection until then, but gets stuck into Vicky's supply of prescription meds. Vicky's outside apologizing for her recent behavior towards Max and Gertie at school so they can all make up before tonight. When the traps are laid, Tina does an over-the-top dance routine aided by Vicky's meds and her general loose morals to summon Billy. She ends it by flashing the world and he appears from the shadows like a creepy uncle, but Tina panics and gets taken out by the group's own trap. As Billy enters, Chris closes the door behind him and they hit him with a swinging log that impales Billy on a set of deer antlers. Gertie and Blake share a celebratory kiss thinking that they've won, but it dooms him to be the next killed when he tries to take the still living Billy's machete. The others run upstairs and when Billy rounds the corner they shoot his torso full of flaming arrows, but he just keeps on coming. Their final trap's a bucket full of fuel above the door, but before they can activate it, Billy knocks a bookcase on top of Gertie and Vicki. He impales Gertie as Max, Nancy and Chris escape through a window, so the pinned Vicki drops the bucket on herself and Billy. It causes a large explosion as the remaining three acknowledge a slow-motion sequence that it begins. A near unkillable Billy pursues them out of the window and keeps chasing after them, but they all remain caught in the movie's slow-mo. It's finally broken when Billy almost catches them, so Nancy recites his urban legend again and transports them back to 1957. The older version of Billy's still after them, but he's hit by a car through the title card, allowing his machete to be taken by Max. They follow the younger version to discover his future hiding place when the slasher returns armed with his little peeling knife. Nancy skips to the end of the story to bring them back to the forest where Billy stabs Chris in the gut and kidnaps Nancy. Max takes on her role as the final girl, helping the injured Chris into a nearby chapel before leaving with the machete to go hunting Billy. She finds Nancy inside his hideout, but Billy shows up and chokes Max out before sticking her with his knife. Nancy slashes Billy to the ground with his machete before carrying her wounded savior to the chapel where she gets placed next to Chris. She realizes that only the final girl can kill Billy, and since there's two of them still living, neither's able to until the other's dead. Volunteering to go out on her shield to save her new friend Max, she tears up and tells Nancy that she was her mother in the real world. Before walking out of the chapel, Amanda's character tells Max that she'll always know where to find her, referencing a rewatch of the movie. She performs Billy's favorite dance moves to summon him while the song Betty Davis Eyes plays for a final playful moment with her dying daughter. Billy emerges from the woods and kills Nancy with his knife, healing Max and empowering her with all the abilities of the final girl. She confidently strolls out of the chapel, machete in hand, for the final showdown with Billy, knowing that he's unable to kill her. He throws her around a bit before she slow motion slides under his knife throw and lops off the antagonist's head in a single swing. It causes the movie's credits to roll with the sunrise as Chris walks over and the last two survivors of Camp Bloodbath share a kiss. Suddenly the movie juts to the film's rating stamp before the reel breaks off and Max wakes up in a hospital beside Chris. She's delighted to pull back the curtain to find all of her friends survived and asks if it was all just a dream, but Duncan still has a pretty nasty machete wound to his side to prove that they really went through it. They hear the movie's creepy theme music begin to play again and look outside to see a couple about to fool around. Billy bursts in ready for the sequel, making Duncan happy to be a part of it again, while Max grabs the nearest weapon and charges at him. And the movie ends.